That down. Let's move on to this. So we already talked a little bit earlier in the show about Inside Out 2, and we all loved it. Again, I don't think it's quite as good as the first one, but it was magnificent. But one of the things that Inside Out 2 was hopefully a representation of was what would mark, hopefully, fingers crossed, a turnaround in the box office fortunes of 2024. Obviously, up until this point, with a few notable big wins, Bad Boys just had a fabulous opening weekend and stuff like that. But 2024 has been a struggle at the box office for a lot of films. But again, we kind of talked about in 2023 how the first half would be, with the labor disputes and all that kind of stuff, all these movies moving out of their release dates. You had a more limited big releases. We had multiple weeks with no wide release films coming out. It was going to be a struggle. But the question was, once Inside Out comes out, and then we also have other films, Despicable Me, Moana 2, Joker, Wolverine 3, or Deadpool 3, I should say, how is it going to turn around? Well, if the first day is any indication, not bad. Because according to Variety, Inside Out 2's opening day just set the new record for the year for its opening weekend, for its opening day box office. Variety wrote the following: "Move out of the way, sadness. Inside Out," I love sadness, by the way. Inside Out 2 just scored the biggest box office previews of 2024. Disney and Pixar's latest animated outing grossed $13 million in Thursday previews domestically, plus $22.3 million internationally. The family-friendly sequel is projected to launch between 80 to 90 million this weekend. By the way, I saw a number of other projections now due to the opening day previews saying that this thing could open to over $100 million.
Wow.
We'll see. A debut on the higher end would give Inside Out 2 the biggest opening of the year. Warner Brothers currently holds the top two spots of 2024 with Dune Part 2 that had an opening weekend of 82.5 million and Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire that had an opening weekend of $80 million. All right. When they first announced, we talked about it on the show 3 or 4 weeks ago, that Inside Out 2 was projecting for $80 to $85 million opening weekend. I was thrilled, but I'll admit, I was also a little skeptical and dubious that it could actually do that. Again, just look at this year's movies, right? Bad Boys, which huge, big win for them, had like a $50 million opening weekend, or 52, somewhere in that neighborhood. Anyway, it was
56,
good.
56.
$56 million, huge, right? Could it actually get 80 to 85? I mean, it didn't need to get 80 and 85 to be successful. But then we went to go see it at a 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday screening yesterday, and our theater was full.
Mm-hmm.
Your theater was
My
full.
theater was full.
Jonathan?
This is for Inside Out too?
Yeah, it was your theater?
Yeah, and the theater was like hyped, and I don't mean just the kids.
Yeah, it was,
the adults were like buzzing in the theater.
We had people applauding at the trailers in our theater,
and people were just like laughing out loud to the movie. So it wasn't just for the kids, man.
Yeah, it was also my most well-behaved audience of 2024, and it was full with children.
Yeah,
filled with them.
I actually had, for the first time in a long time, I had a dude in front of me. Granted, he only did it once, but he literally pulled out his phone and was just scrolling through his social media for about a minute and a half.
No.
And I was getting ready to grab him by the neck, and I realized it was like a 16-year-old kid. I thought, I'm going to give him another minute. And then he put it away, and granted, he never pulled it out again after that. So there was that. But I was literally in front of a bunch of other children, murdering another human being.
Boredom had taken over him.
Yeah, and we had gotten to him. But we came out of that, and I'm going, maybe that 80, 85 isn't unrealistic. And now with it like eclipsing the previous year's records for the opening day, and that is a Thursday. I think listen, I don't know for sure, but I went from being dubious that this thing could make 80 to 85 to now I kind of do think the $100 million opening could be feasible. It might happen for this. If not, I think it'll get close. And if it does, the reason I think this is so important is that it will show again, like whenever doubt starts to emerge, something comes along to set the record straight. People love going to the movies. And if you deliver a good theatrical experience, people have a ball, they have a good time, they'll buy soda and popcorn. And full credit to the theaters I was in, because knowing it's a kids movie, they started it only 15 minutes after start time instead of the traditional 30 minutes after start time, because they know they got a lot of kids in there, I'm guessing. But this is huge, because now if this movie can like hammer out a $90 million opening weekend and go on to make, and by the way, traditionally speaking, most movies that open around 80 to 90 million go on to make minimum 475, 500, 600, 700 million dollars. Now, whether or not Inside Out 2 will get to that height, don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it certainly looks like the weekend is good. And with the other bangers we got coming down the road, 2024 could very well be more than just salvaged, but it could actually end up being a pretty decent year. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Jean. Guys, are you tired of the rough and rigid jeans crushing your boys? Well, today's sponsor, The Perfect Jean, finally solved all of your denim difficulties. They make great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are as comfortable as sweatpants. The secret? A special denim fabric that is super soft and has the perfect amount of stretch so you can squat, do yoga, or just sit around all day without ever having to take them off. I'm going to admit I was a little bit skeptical, because to me, jeans have always been jeans. They're practical, but not always the most comfortable. But I'm telling you guys, it's not an exaggeration. Once I put on these jeans, the Perfect Jean redefined what jeans can be to me. They're the perfect fit, they stretch, they breathe, and again, they're just insanely comfortable. So guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc/Campea15. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns and free exchanges when you use code Campea15 at checkout. Again, that's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc/Campea15 and use the code Campea15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this. Biggest opening day box office of the year so far. Does this surprise you? Does it not? How big can the full opening weekend be? What does it say for the rest of the year, if anything at all? How do you see it?
Doesn't surprise me, because much like Jonathan already brought up here, this is a movie that kids and adults have been excited for and are going to continue going out and seeing. It reminds me a lot of the Mario box office potential, honestly, because you had so many people going to see Mario over and over again.
Yeah.
Not only adults who just love Mario.
There's gonna be a lot of
but
word of
kids.
mouth on this.
There's gonna be so much,
Yeah.
and kids love this movie. I don't know if we'll have the same kind of phenomena of families dressing up to go see this like we did with Super
Maybe,
Mario
but-
Brothers.
yeah.
But I think this has a lot of rewatchability. I think this is for, child-free people like me. I love this. This is made for millennials. People with families are going to love this. Adults who just like Pixar are going to love this. Tiny kids are going to love it. I think this speaks really, really highly of the return to going to seeing things in theaters, so long as we also don't shorten the window of when this is in theaters
Yeah.
and move it to streaming immediately.
Good segue, because it's guaranteed for 100 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about looking at having a full 100-day theatrical window. And, the other thing about Inside Out 2 that I think it is a good representation of Pixar's overall philosophy. Pixar does not make kid films. They make kid-friendly films.
Exactly.
I saw there's a good discussion going on in the live chat where somebody mentioned like, hey, as an adult, I'm not going to go see Paw Patrol, but I have no problem going to a Pixar film, which is an excellent point, because there were a lot of adults in those theaters, adults without kids, who walked out smiling and grinning. When Pixar is at its best and it's firing on all cylinders, that's the magic of a Pixar film. It appeals to the kids, yes, because it's kid friendly, but in many ways it's targeted at the adults. The Incredibles is a great example of this. The Incredibles, very fun for kids, but everything about Mr. Incredible, talking about reminiscing about his glory days, about are my best days behind me as a beyond middle-aged man now? How can I capture? Like, all these are concepts that no kid would understand. And a lot of that philosophy, I feel like they brought into Inside Out too, because you were pointing out, Chris, there are jokes and lines in this, and Jonathan was mentioning it too, that no kid will get.
They're not made for them.
No,
It's made for an adult.
Yes.
Well, and I do want to just address this further too, because the chat was having this conversation as well of, you don't feel weird seeing a movie like this without kids? No, I
What?
don't.
Yep.
I don't
It's
feel
like maybe
weird.
a Paw Patrol movie,
said
but
that?
not a Pixar film. Yeah.
I'm going to go see a Pixar film because it is using the medium of animation. Once again, y'all, animation is not a genre that means for children. It is a medium in which you are telling a story. Now, are there animated films that are geared towards children? Absolutely there are.
And there are live action films geared towards children.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is one of those films like you're talking about here that bridges that gap of there are so many things in this that are going to be written specifically for an older audience. And there's things that are written specifically for that younger audience to enjoy as well, so that everyone can go see this movie and have a great time.
Yeah. And someone was like, this is a kid's movie and I stand by my words. Fine. Don't go.
Yeah.
Enjoy not experiencing the wonderful writing,
you
the
are
comedy.
allowed to be
Just
ignorant.
Go ahead
You
and
have
close the
every
door
right
for
to be
yourself.
ignorant. Yes.
If you want to close the door for yourself, no one's forcing you to. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Die on that hill.
I
We
mean,
had fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's somebody in the live chat says, but wait a minute, the lead character in the movie is like 13, and the lead character in Up is like 95. What's the
Wasn't
point?
Luke 16?
Yeah, Luke was like a 17-year-old
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Is Star Wars just for teens? I mean, it's just, again, this is representing Pixar's philosophy to a T. Most of their movies are written towards adults while being kid accessible. And that's the beauty of it and why they've had so much success historically. And why I think when you go into a movie theater now and you get into these full movie theaters for Inside Out 2, you're seeing it parents with kids and adults by themselves, not a lot of single adult, but like just adults, groups of adults going to go see it. Because these Pixar films, when done right, they hit all of us on different levels. And even when they're dealing with things like Riley's entering high school and all the stuff that go like that, there wasn't a single adult in that place that didn't relate, that didn't understand that and remember going through that. It's just, again, I'm not saying it's the best Pixar movie, but it represents Pixar at its best when they are doing the things that they do so well. And I was a little bit doubtful going into it, but after seeing it, I'm not surprised at all now, seeing the type of success and how many people are flooding out to it. And while I'm not predicting it'll be $100 million come Monday, I'm not going to be surprised if it hits $100 million for an opening weekend by Monday. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about this? Are you surprised? Were you thinking it was going to hit 100 million the whole time? Were you like me that thought maybe 50 to 60 was more realistic? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.